Have you seen her lately? How her cast shadows have fallen off her eyes.
Oh my goodness.
Have you seen the beauty from this woman? You see how she talks bold. She walks unafraid.
Oh my
she
God.
oozes off love without saying a word. Now that's how to be an African queen. I am dead.
Oh! Welcome to Dada Next Door. So Dada Next Door is a new show where we talk about women in the activism world. So these are women who are actually forming their own different way of social changes in form of arts. So these are women who actually can sing, you know, the kipepe. Some of us know. These are women who actually are doing poetry. These are women who actually are dancers. I don't know. I think women are just women.
I know.
So what we will be doing on this show is that we'll be exploring what has been done, what is being done, and what will be done by these exceptional women that we have in our society in regards to social change. So whatever you've heard at the beginning of this show, that was one of the exceptional women. And I'm so excited because she's actually my first guest in this show. She's beautiful.
Oh.
She's African.
Oh.
She's spontaneous.
Give me my flowers.
She's Spontaneous the poet. So Spontaneous the poet, karibu sana kwa show.
Asante sana. Aish. Hata ukishanipatia introduction kayo.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing. You look amazing yourself.
Perfect. I feel good. I don't know. I feel good. You're wearing purple. Purple is my favorite color. So this is just vibes and inshallah, you know.
Meet royalty. Royalty meets royalty, man.
So when did you start singing? My goodness, you have such a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you.
When did you start singing?
Thank you so much. So, this is an interesting one. 1990, before 1998, tell me 1997. That's when I started singing, and I thought I was gonna be. I usually say this a lot. The next Mariah Carey. I know we belong together. Yeah, but I got more. So I did music. I always call music my first love. But then I got into poetry. I like to say poetry chose me.
Okay.
So yeah, 1998 is when I actually now started doing floetry, a fusion of music and poetry.
Oh,
yeah.
And I was joking with her before this show, and I was telling her that I was really stalking her. You know the late nights where you're like, who's Spontaneous? Instagram. Then you go Facebook, and then Facebook links you to somewhere else. At the end of the day, I have like your whole biography. But there's some things that really stood out for me, like you're a writer, you're a singer, you're a songwriter, you have initiatives that you've been doing, you've been recruited by one of the organizations that I think every phenomenal woman wants to be. So I'm really excited, and it's gonna be a very powerful show. Are you excited?
I am super stoked to be here. Like Dada Next Door is such a beautiful vibe, and it feels like it's a safe space to just be woman and speak about your achievements and feel appreciated. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, and actually our hashtag is to create, to influence, and to empower. And I'm very excited. I'm actually doing it with you today here.
Thank you.
I don't know where we should start. I'm really, I want to know. I don't know where I should start from your career, or I should start from your background. That's why I'm even confused. So I think we should start with tell us how many you are in your home, so maybe we can be able to understand where this poetry came from.
Cool.
Because it's actually very powerful, and then I'm so sure between the show people would be like, I'm so following this girl because trust you me, she's spontaneous. So maybe you can tell us where you're from. Are you from Nairobi? How many are you? Are you like the last one? I don't think. Are you the last one?
I look like a last one.
Yeah, you look like a last.
I look like a last born. Hey, my people, me, I am a first born. I cannot afford to look like a last born.
I'm aware you are first born, soft life.
Hey, wait, no. We were beaten. Even the mistakes of our own brothers. Were heaped on us, and we were beaten for those. So no soft life here.
So tell us about you. Then tell us what's your real name.
Cool.
Tell us about you.
So I like to say my ID name is Rachel Stephanie Akinyi. Let's stick to Spontaneous the Poet, though.
Okay.
I am a firstborn. We are 2 in our family. For the better part of my livelihood, I've been raised by a single parent. Power to my mom. I started poetry in 1998. By that time, my family had already separated. And I was living with this amazing aunt of mine. And I remember there's a teacher called Mrs. Otieno who kind of insisted that I have to do poetry. You know, me, I'm here thinking Mariah Carey is the way to go. And then I'm told poetry. I'm thinking to myself, man, poetry, that's for people who live here. They don't live in the real world, you know. But check me out now. So she beat me like 3 times. I insisted like I go and cram a piece. And just because I feared being caned again, that's how I actually picked up my first poetry piece.
Yes. How old were you?
I was 1990. I was in class 2.
Okay, so technically we know how old you are. You don't even have to tell us how old you are.
Do the math.
Calculate. So how was life? Where were you raised? Which town? How was it?
Oh my God!
Did the separation also on your family separated? Did that also influence your poetry? Because when you listen to your pieces, they are very deep. So do you think that also influenced?
It did. Wow. Where do I begin? So I have lived in various places. When I was younger, I lived in Kisumu. Then when they split, I had to live in Eldoret. And then at some point, I had to come back to Nairobi. And then I also lived in Mombasa at some point. Yeah, I've been that child who's been moving places, you know.
Young traveler.
It did influence. Poetry did the influence. The influence came from my lifestyle at the beginning.
Okay.
In my younger years, I was bullied a lot. And coming from a child who was raised by a single parent, sometimes, you know, your parents have a lot going on. And so you as a child, you tend to think it's not a big deal to like share what you're going through. So for a bit, I would normally just come back home and cry to my pillow and not talk and not say much. But then I got to class 5 where it got intense. And as a result, I actually took a piece of paper and I was here just telling God, man, me, I'm done. Me, just take me back to heaven. This art, I do not understand it, you know. But I look back right now, I'm like, that was more of a suicidal note. I just didn't know. But then that was the point where, so one of the ladies actually picked the piece of paper and took it to my class teacher. But then he was called Mr. Jean. So Mr. Jean was a French teacher. Mr. Jean cometh and tells the pupils to actually stop, and the bullying actually stopped.
So why were they even bullying you? You know, why?
You know, looking back, I think because I used to wang a lot. Nilikuwa wale
Mariah Carey. You're Mariah Carey.
I was Mariah Carey, you know. but kids, who are kids? If you're different, it's a problem. And I was also a tomboy. Sana.
Okay.
So you do realize I was hanging out with the guys who now were the girlfriends were probably
that's why they were bullying you. Okay, I get it.
Okay, I've been trying to figure it out, but I think maybe those are like part of the reasons as to why. I actually found out much later. One of the key reasons was actually that, just being part of a circle of a guy who other ladies actually really liked, and hakuwa anapatia time of day, so that was a big deal.
Okay.
But aside from that, so that's in class 5. That happened. That's when I realized the power of writing. So I started learning to because I even had anger issues. So I started learning how to manage my anger through writing.
Okay.
That was like my release point. I had mentioned earlier that in class 2 is when I started doing poetry. The first time I recognized that I could actually do this more often and I could run away from school because school was a bit hell at that time was through poetry, because then I was getting to travel for drama festival and music festival.
So how old were you at
at that time still, that was in class 2 still. When I actually realized I could travel with this, because I got a chance to represent. By that time I was in a school called Kapsoya Primary in Eldoret.
Kapsoya, we know Kapsoya.
You do?
What to Eldoret? Uko Kapsoya vumbi tu.
Back in the day kwa na vumbi nse. Back in the day ilikuwa esto.
Aya, sawa. Shout out to Kapsoya Primary.
Shout out to Mrs. Otieno. I hope she's still around. So then I started traveling a lot with this. Then fast forward to now class 5.
Okay.
I realized the power of writing, because you remember, period yote, I have been literally rehearsing other people's stuff. But then for the first time, I write my own thing. Then fast forward to now getting into high school. And I'm still on the drama and music festival. You have to find means za kutoroka shule.
Funky lazima.
Lazima uende funky.
Lazima. Funky. Anything for funky.
And I remember this time, we hadn't gone on a funky for a bit. And the guys were doing music festival. And the other pieces, tayari zilikuwa zishapena to other people. And I was asking myself, nitakaa tu hapa nikiona watu wakienda funky? Hapana. So what do? I speak to this teacher who was in charge. And she told me to come up with an original piece. I had never written an original piece before. Now that is 2008. 2008, Nikwa Form 3. Yes. So then I get to write this file. And it goes through. She's like, yeah, we will work with that. So that's the first time I actually put down a poetry piece and took it to a competition, and it worked. Fast forward to now campus.
So where was your campus? Maybe you can tell us, where was your campus?
University of Eldoret. Okay, at that time ilikuwa Moi University Chepkoilel campus.
Watu wa Moi wetu tunajijua. Hiyo kitu ijai kwa Moi University. We'll have that debate. I mean, University of Eldoret is so different from Moi University. The Moi University.
Goja, before ikwe University of Eldoret. Ilikuwa Moi University Chepkoilel campus.
Moi ni moja, guys. Moi ni moja. We always debate this.
You do realize I'm called science. We want this science for you.
So I'm imagining your campus, because when I also did my campus in Eldoret, so we had a lot of easy community engagements. We had so I think also that's where you started now, like full blown.
It's so interesting because Chepkoilel campus is more our science mathematics space, so art wasn't as much.
Okay.
In fact, I was one of the pioneers. We started something called One Night Stand poetry, where now One night stand. Let's leave it at that. But before we get there, I met one guy called Ordinary Mind, and Ordinary Mind, he introduced me to spoken word.
Okay.
I hadn't heard about spoken word before up until he brought it up. So I asked him what this was. By that time I was in 3rd year. Makiu, the things I used to do was just play chess and go on outs and things like that. So he was like, you love poetry, you need to understand what spoken word is. It's performance poetry. So I figured, let me see how this works.
Can you remember your first spoken word?
And
just like 2-3 lines. Can you remember?
I just remember the title, and so I shall fight for light. Whatever that was.
Uliandika usiku.
My good Lord.
Okay, so can you remember, like, what was it about? Because we want to understand where this craving of activism
Fight for light. Fight for light. What was I?
Were you heartbroken? Because most of the time you had.
No. Funny enough, I wasn't even doing pieces on heartbreak.
Oh.
I was doing a lot of pieces on human rights violations without even realizing. The deep end bit of it was I was doing more pieces on gender, GBV, gender-based violence, sexual violations. But then again, that also just stems from a bit of my background, you know.
So when did you, I just want to be able to understand, because now whatever we'll be doing here throughout this show, and you're our pioneer, so you're setting the pace.
Okay.
So when exactly did you realize that, oh my goodness, I could actually use poetry to change somebody's life? I could actually use poetry to tell people stop violence. I could, when was that time? And I think you'll tell us more about that maybe after the break. Yeah. So you'll tell us about that, and also there's so many amazing things that she's actually doing. Like I said, she was nominated for one of the most prestigious, oh my god, I've applied 3 times.
Wow. Oh wow.
And I've never gotten into, but I'm very excited as well on our second part. Now we'll talk about it. We also talk about how you think women are played out in society, especially standing in a crowd. When I'm performing, when you're performing, what you dress, does it shout your content? Does it reflect what you're saying? So we have a very great conversation that we're gonna have. So after the break, welcome back to Dada Next Door. And I actually realized during the first part, I never introduced myself. My goodness. You know, when you're surrounded with greatness, you feel the least in the room, you know? But anyway, my name is Nina McKenna. Nina McKenna, I'm a human rights activist. I'm a podcaster. I have my own podcast show called Naked Lives, but that's not the idea here. And I also have a very strong belief of social change and the impact that women have in our society. And I just want to ask also spontaneous, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you were to say the impact of women in the society, what would be your scale?
7.
Why not a 10? I was expecting you to tell me 11. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
I was expecting 11.
I will.
So why 7? There's a reason why you said 7. The impact of women in our society today.
For me, 7 means completion.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. 7 means completion. So women are the cornerstone of everything. We breed, we lead, we guide, we advise, we do not give it up. We are the complete circle. So 7 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. She said a 7. And I
didn't even average it. It's complete, yo.
Yeah.
It's complete.
So I'd also want you, if you're watching this show, I just want you to tell me just something brief about you think a woman, the role of women in our societies today, just on a scale of 1 to 10. It's just a short survey. Just tell me, what do you think? Mine is 11. Nitatolewa kwa survey because it's 11, overboard.
You know, 11 is amazing because 11 still means the beginning.
Goodness, guys, poetry. Mimi hapa.
I mean,
hapa napotea.
11 means the beginning. So I'm very nini with the spiritual aspect of things. So when I look at 11, I see oneness. It means oneness. It means the beginning.
Okay.
7 means completion. So 7, 8, 11. Those are really beautiful.
Who run the world?
Women.
Girls.
Funny you actually said that because we were doing a project. I know we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Give the woman her flowers. And one of the pieces, one of the ladies was actually asking, who run the world? And then everybody else was saying girls. And then you're like, no, women run the world.
Wow. So tell me about the Anika initiative. I'm really interested about the Anika initiative. I'm glad you've picked that up because so I remember when we were talking, we just got into 2013. So fast forward to after campus, then now outside my life, now outside of Eldoret and coming to Nairobi. Then I meet one gorgeous lady called Gladys Mwende, who has this idea of creating safe spaces for people to talk about matters SGBV. And you remember I mentioned earlier, most of my pieces were actually on the GBV spectrum. I just didn't realize it then. And then we
team up with one Robin Omeka, one Desmond Ogubi. We were all just poets who wanted to create safe spaces for discussions. Okay. And that is how Anika came into play.
All right.
That was in 2015. So then Anika started out as an initiative that's aimed at creating safe spaces for conversations, but then it grew into a whole initiative that now uses art for social change. We have been here for a bit. 2015 till 2023, we're now 8th year, guys. You're now 8th year.
Shout out to you.
I know. We've been doing stuff on democracy and governance, on human rights, on mental health, on the cultural exchange. So mental health is when I was telling you about in the break, rather. Okay. How we were doing forums that were spanning monthly for a whole 2 years just on mental health discourse. And our target audience, at that time, we were just trying to figure ourselves out.
I can imagine.
Funny enough, looking back, we're like, our target audience were actually artists, which is amazing because I'm yet to see now another space that allows artists to talk about their mental health issues, not artists as the healers of mental health issues.
Oh, nice.
You know, so that really, you know how when you're younger and you really don't know what you're doing and then you grow old and you realize, oh, that's what I was doing.
You join the dots. It's called you join the dots.
You join the dots.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And then over time, there's also the youth and migration docket where we actually focus on matters refugees, refugee artists getting to tell their own stories.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, as of this month, 28th of July, we're actually rolling out a project where, again, we're having conversations around mental health and refugees and the host communities.
I think we can never get enough of mental health.
We can never
get enough of mental health. And since in regards to also mental health and all that, would you say that the Anika initiative, would you say that it gave a social impact? I know you said most of them were artists, but what about us who are not artists?
It did because then as much as the greater audience were artists, but then we had other people also join in. Yeah. And now talking about mental health and refugees, now that's us focusing on the community itself, you know. And an added plus for that is when we partnered with Mental 360. So beyond just having the conversations, the artists actually had an opportunity to get free counseling at Mental 360. Which was, for us, that was huge because we had over how many people? Physical beneficiaries who actually got to go were like 13, 14 guys at that time. But now, moving past that, aside from the mental health docket, when I'm talking about youth and migration, we've had artists and relevant stakeholders get to talk about challenges refugees are facing towards reintegration of refugees. And we've been able to do a podcast called Try My Shoe series. It has like a 16-part episode.
Oh.
You should go and watch it on YouTube.
Oh my goodness, we should drop links.
You know, like, we've been learning so much. Aside from that, you actually did the first anthology for documenting refugee stories through artistic expression. And you actually have the book, the Try My Shoe book. That's okay. That's
your mind blowing, girl. You're mind blowing. You're really mind blowing. But also, there's something I also, when I was really stalking you, there's something I also checked, and you had a hashtag once. It was hashtag give the woman her flowers, and it was not even on the 14th February. So it's like, what is this? So what is that?
Give the woman
she's singing
flowers. That's the tagline. Give the woman her flowers.
Amazing.
So, Give the Woman Her Flowers is a project that Power 254, in partnership with Creative Skills, decided to undertake, where we had 8 female poets who actually had a masterclass on poetry. And guess by who? The one and only Sitawa Namwali.
Wow.
I know.
I'm not even a poet, but I know. I know the name. I'm like, oh, okay.
You know, so Sitawa gets to like take us through this masterclass where we did it for a week. We had a whole 96 poems written in a week. We had a book published by Power 254 as a result of the poems. We did the launch of the book, and then we said, why not stage this show? As Sitawa takes charge as the director, and yours truly was also a co-director. We thank God.
And I've also seen you performing. Oh my goodness, it's such a vibe. You're like,
Thank
she's
you.
there, and then she's like, oh, okay.
Thank you so much. So for me, Give the Woman Her Flowers was actually a dream come true, because I have always wanted to do mentorship.
Okay.
And so I was just taking myself through mentorship classes, and I got a chance to do the activism fellowship, and now I've got to do the masterclass here, Power. And now, actually, as we're speaking, we're thinking of how do we mentor other young Kenyan female poets who are also coming into the space. We actually just created a group yesterday.
And I don't mean to be, how do I say it? And I don't mean to be gender's biased or anything, but I like the fact that you're concentrating on women, because I know a lot of people say that we've forgotten the boy child, but me, okay, I feel boy child can take care of himself. It's given by God, as in anaweza jisimamia. But you taking this like a young talent. Women, we have so many challenges, of which we'll also be documenting in these episodes. Women, we have a lot of challenges, and nowadays modern problems require modern solutions. So I like the fact that you're also considering women in poetry, you're also considering women in mental health. And would you say that this is actually your biggest success, mentorship? Or what's your biggest success when it comes to activism?
This is so interesting. You know, every time I'm asked that question, I'm like,
oh, how many times have you been asked that question?
So many times.
My goodness.
So many times. I'm always tempted to say, is it the awards that I've collected?
How many awards do you have?
I've been nominated for 3. I have won 1.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Like the ones that have
those
awards.
ones.
Do you normally can I sell them and get money? Or I've always wanted. Okay, I know. I've always
I see the entrepreneur in you.
I've always wanted to know when you get that that maybe it's like a horn, or so I'm imagining for poetry it's a book or a castard. Can I sell them? Do they give you a bahasha, or is it just I've always wanted?
It depends on which award and what they have in store. Some people get the money plus the award. Some people just get the award.
Can you sell that award?
Why would you sell a recognition award?
Tough times, sis. Tough times.
Those are the things that remind you of who you are. You can't just afford to sell, you know. But I think, to be honest, for me, my winning has been every time someone comes back to me and tells me you spoke for me.
Okay.
That has been my win every time, because I understand the power of speaking for someone. Why it's not for Mr. Jean speaking for me? You. Because of the bullying, it would have never stopped.
Okay.
You know? Why it's not for my class teacher speaking for me in terms of you can actually do poetry, I wouldn't be here. So for me, activism has been an opportunity to speak for myself and for people. Yeah. And that's why I touch on really critical issues like democracy and governance, economics, mental health, financial instability, corruption, you know, because these are the things that touch us to the core.
That is true.
Right now, the key campaign I am driving is transforming the lens of single parenthood with the focus of the child. Because most of the time people talk about the single mom, the single dad.
Yeah.
What are the problems people are facing? Data is put there and it says poverty. I agree. Education, I agree. But the child, do they really know that that's the problem really? We are losing out on the aspect of separation anxiety. We are losing out on the aspect of sticking to toxic relationships because, well, you got in a space where you felt you never had this before, so you'd rather stick around to have a unified vibe, you know.
To feel seen.
To feel seen.
Yeah.
We are not talking about perfectionism. what being raised by a single parent, the pressure that it comes with, you know, where you just feel like there's a debt bondage you have to overcome because maybe your relatives supported you or something. I'm glad I have relatives who tell me we did this because we needed to do it. But there are people out there who are always reminded, oh yeah, jua tulikufanyia, hivyo basi lazima utufanyie, you know. So that's what I'm championing for right now. So everything I do in the art space is geared towards giving healing, but then also speaking about the hardest things that you cannot easily talk about.
You know, actually, you've just said about that, and I feel to be very wrong if I don't also give something small about that. And I'm also from a single parent, and look where we are.
You know,
it doesn't matter where you come. And I just want to tell also young ladies, because I know they are watching this. It doesn't matter how your childhood looked like, or you never. That was not your choice. Where you come from is not your choice. Who your parents are is not your choice. But now where you wanna go, what you wanna do, now that becomes your choice. Now that becomes your responsibility.
Exactly.
It's vile akombali sana would have done a high five.
You know, like I just had you right now.
High five.
And because we just had to.
Yeah, we just had to.
You know, but the whole and to think about it, I did a show at Ford Foundation. Was it Ford? No, MasterCard Foundation.
Okay.
And you're talking about young female traders and what they're facing. From the statistics they shared, and the BSD group as well, from the statistics they shared, actually the single women-led households are 50-50 right now. Like, to go at par. This whole idea of it's a perception that we are the minority, we are not. So then the question is, how do we take the family, how do we build the blocks to bring back the family units together, you know?
That is true.
Or fine, because 5 years, 10 years from now, it is actually stated that single women who lead these households are the one who will take control of all the product purchases.
Okay.
So if this does happen, then how do we then change the narrative? And for me, changing the narrative is going back to the child.
That is true.
Because the child will tell you what needs to be done.
Now I get it why they picked you for Femnet and not me. Tell me about Femnet.
Thank you. This is so interesting. So Femnet have this, that reminds me, just give me a minute. There's the African Women's Journal for 2023. And there were actually call-outs for that time. And a couple of my friends sent me this call-out. I will not lie. You know, I keep telling... Liboy will probably be sharing this as well. I keep telling her, these applications that I do, many that I do, they never go through. You know. So Femnet for me, when it went through, I was like, oh my word.
And then it had some money. I saw. I saw the check.
It had some good money. It had some really, really good money. But for me, because they wanted us to talk about the Maputo Protocol and share in our insights as different people, from writers to spoken word artists to musicians. So for me, I picked the poetry angle. And that's how I got the opportunity. Hopefully, I'm waiting to see the published Nini for it.
It's going to be amazing.
I'm really, really looking forward to that, and maybe travel to where this will be done, probably outside the country.
I think it's France, if I'm... and if you need a PA, my goodness, I take very good pictures.
My friend, I'll even put you in my suitcase. Don't worry, I got you.
So guys, this is Spontaneous the poet.
Yeah.
Like I told you, she's a phenomenal woman, and we celebrate you today.
Thank you.
And like I always tell myself, because most of the time I have so many soliloquial conversations.
Yeah.
And I always tell myself, you don't see what you're doing until it's years later. You know,
it is.
You can just stand there in front of people and just say, Mimi kama mwanapoe. I don't know what you guys. I don't know how you come up with rhyming words. Ati ikifika Mimi ndio or. So everyone must end with or. I don't know how you get to do that.
I think also it's just important to acknowledge that spoken word has different genres. I do storytelling. Other people do humor. Other people focus on the rhythm and the rhyme. It differs. But I also agree with what you're saying in terms of what you do before and how it impacts later. I might probably just give an example. When I started out the activism journey, I started out with Heart Kenya, a human trafficking awareness organization, prevention awareness organization.
Human traffic, and I know it sounds very ignorant of me, but
is
people still do that.
The second most lucrative.
Is it Kenya? Because
criminal activity.
Or is it what we see on TV? Wale wakitolewa sijui where?
Let me give you the basic.
Wow.
House help wako wa nyumbani yako how old? Most of them are less than 18 years. or when you're a skiza. Most of them are less than 18 years of age.
For real?
Wamesafirishwa, literally umetoa mtu Ushago, umemleta Nairobi. What you've done is you've trafficked someone because they are underage. They do not have consent of doing labor work that you're actually paying for. That's already trafficking. When you walk on the streets and you see child beggars, or you just see beggars, you know, most of the time the syndicates behind the scenes. Jioni unasikia unajua watu tunasemanga we say it so casually, hizi pesa watatoa alafu watarudishia mtu, you know, but then we're not seeing it as child servitude, which is again human trafficking in its own sense. Let's not go for prostitutes, for a better word, sexual workers. Many times what do? We look and we walk. We're like, wanauza body yao.
Maybe I would say those mamas are fly. Okay. But I'll just say that.
But how many of us know that some of them have been forced into the job? You know? Some of them they do that. The monies they get, someone else is being paid for that job. That in itself is already human trafficking.
Sure.
You know, basically human trafficking is the transfer of a person from point A to point B, but through inaitwa kufanya nini, kumdanganya ya kwamba tapata something worthwhile, but at the end of the day, you're violating the person. There's a beneficiary. So I feel like most of the time human trafficking has been made to look like this ambiguous thing, but then if you break it down into small chunks, then you realize it's with us every single day.
Me, actually, when you say about human trafficking, I'm thinking about
the
people
travels.
In chains. They're inside water. There's water. Then they go to another country. Oh my goodness!
But then if you come back home, you realize it's just hapo kwa corner. You know, what most people have highlighted is being trafficked from one country to another, probably because of employment and all that. But unakuja unapata umekandamizwa, you know.
True.
So just retracing back my steps, Heart Kenya introduced me to the human trafficking space. That's how I started out activism, and I only knew the theoretical bit of this. So on to what you're saying about how ukunyuma ina build into the future. That was in 2015 when I started being an ambassador for human trafficking prevention. 2022 is when coincidentally one of my friends was trafficked. And it's coincidentally the same time that I actually became the human trafficking and prevention docket project lead at Peace Tree Network. For the first time, with all this theory I have had over the years, now I had to learn the practical aspect of things. Who are the organizations to talk to? Who are the people to reach out to? Who are beyond, as much as we check social media and we see, huyu amesema ametrafikiwa na nini. Who do you talk to get that person out of that place to, you know? Because we worked with the likes of Willy Oyeba to try and trend the discussion of bring Wanja back home. We tried reaching out to the media to also cover some of the stories beyond that. But we realized that these were
things that were validating the story, but then you realize there's IOM that will actually push for the release.
So in short, what I'm actually getting from this conversation is that there's so much about women that is happening, can I say chini ya maji, that we don't know. And I'm actually praying to God that to give us this platform so that we can be able to air out all these issues. Because right now I'm just looking around and I don't have a tissue. My eyes are so watery because these things are things we ignore. Like me you leta mtoto from ushago, maybe amefika 17. Most people finish high school at 17.
Yeah.
So anamaliza shule 17 and then comes to Nairobi, alafu namwambia nitakupeleka kole.
And it doesn't happen.
And doesn't happen because I've seen that and I have witness to that. But I never knew it was trafficking.
It is trafficking.
I thought it was, okay, for a better word, I thought it was helping society because imemaliza shule na sitaki kufanya driving.
Thank you for saying that.
You see, it's good to have these conversations because now it's, I don't know how to say it, but this is a lot.
And thank you for saying that because hata tuseme mbali, fikiria Kwale County, fikiria beach, most of the time tunasemanga, wasichana wanajipendekeza kwa wazungu, most of the people who give the beach operators are actually the people who link the ladies to these wazungus, and they're saying they're helping the society, which kwao genuinely wamesaidia mtoto mdogo ude mchanga kupata mzungu amepata a new lifestyle, But literally what they've done is they have become the perpetrators. They're the ones who are getting
the traffickers. Just call them as they are.
They're literally the traffickers, without knowing that they are actually, even the lady herself or the man, because even the men now are actually being there's a lot of sodomy going on. They don't realize that they're actually victims. As a matter of fact, they even tell you, but I am earning a living out of this. How can you say that I'm actually I'm a victim for this, And the fact that they have, the whole cartel has understood the dynamic to the point, it's a cartel because not now, for a very long time. It's been there, And unapata, tuseme mzungu aenda lalena na umse, alafu kuna video imekuwa hapo. So you're being blackmailed with the video. Either ipelekwe social media or uendele kukwanga sasa una offer services bila kulipwa. What happens to most of the people who get to see these videos, and you probably know someone, cyberbullying. So umse tayari amekuwa trafficked, alafu bado video yake itoke, alafu sasa anakuwa bullied.
Yeah.
The level of, I just got really passionate about this, but the level of ignorance needs to stop.
Yeah. So that's your parting shot. Give us your parting shot. The level of ignorance. Because I also feel it because I'm very ignorant as well. Because things you're saying, I was like, me honestly, I can't even imagine traffic kids like that. I never thought it was trafficking, and that ignorance, which has no defense. But I want you to tell us your parting shot. What are things you want us to change as women ourselves? What are things you want the society to change when they're looking at a woman doing arts? And you also tell us as well, I also want you to tell us, like I said before we left for the break, does it affect how you dress as a woman when you're doing your arts? Because as women, we are so ridiculed in so many ways. To even the color of my hair.
That's a whole conversation. That's a whole conversation.
That's another chance for us to meet. But maybe you can just touch on those as we are actually parting. Like your parting shot or something?
You've asked so many questions. I'm just like, where do I break it? But I think do what you can with the little you have. Do what you can. Do not create excuses. Just do what you can with the little you have. It could be art, the way us we're using artivism. It could be something different. Just don't self-silence.
Okay.
Don't self-silence.
#speak.
Speak, yeah. Don't self-silence. Just do what you can with the little you have.
So we create, we
influence, and we empower.
Karibu Dada next door. When are you coming next? I have to book you in. So because you can have to talk about this conversation now, because trust you me, I I think we should have more and more, so that mtu akisema hakusikia ama hajui, that has no defense. So maybe tunaku expect lini.
Now you have my personal number. Just call me. I am very ready. I am very ready. You just call me. Oh yeah, and in terms of dressing, I think at the end of the day, as an artist, as a brand,
because you're very African, I could tell from
Thank
your post.
you.
You have short, beautiful hair. You know, you're just flawless.
My friend, I had dreadlocks, and my season of being judged for having dreadlocks barely Peter. But I think as an artist whose woman understand your brand, and work by it, you know, because whether it's judged or it's not judged, does it speak you? If it speaks you, that's the most important thing, you know. Right now, when you tuko studio, nimevaa t-shirt yangu, my own logo. This is me.
I'm seeing there is live, life,
love. That's literally my tagline. Ishi maisha, penda upendo.
Oh, penda.
Ishi maisha, penda upendo.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Live life, love.
Wala bin wala. All right. Okay.
Yes.
So and now the last one, because I feel you have a very social impact. So what would you tell a class 2 Rachel that is watching you right now, is being bullied, has mashida nyumbani, not living with the parents, having a tough childhood? Because childhood, let me tell you guys, childhood without your parents, it's not a childhood. It's how do I call it? It's a war field, because you're fighting with everyone. So maybe what can you tell before I let you go? I know you have places to go and all that.
I am so proud of you. And forgive yourself for all the things that happened. It was never your fault.
Okay.
It was never your fault.
You had her. Guys, that's Spontaneous the poet. She's a writer. She's a singer. She's a songwriter. She has won awards. Oh, she's spontaneous. She's phenomenal. You should see people here at the studio. Everybody's like, you know, the feeling of, that was powerful, you know?
Thank you so much. You're amazing too.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I hope you have more discussions like this.
Yes, please.
So that was the Dada Next Door. That was our first episode. You can get the top notch of how we will be doing our shows. Basically, women, everything women. Because at the end of the day, who run the world?
Women.
Oh, so the last, sasa ini ya mwisho kabisa. See, Spontaneous tufungie show in a spontaneous way. Tell us your handles, give us something good, you know?
Cool. Joe Story, by the way, my people, I have a show on the 1st of October. It's called Cheating Chronicles.
Nayo.
Tumesema mapema. It's 1,000 shillings. You better show.
Only.
Yeah. Only, by the way. Only. I also did a video recently. It's called African Woman. So have a taste of African Woman. Mama way, 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 mama way. I am an African woman, bold by 2 yet raised by 1. I am that statistic that thrived from this equation. Because alone is how she has always walked. In this narrowed path with broadened thoughts, I see her lowering her pace and fastening her laces just to give us the very best. Because alone is how she has always walked when he drooled over his pants and swung that stool to her direction, but she picked that broom and swept the bad omen away and began living in pieces amidst their tiny, disentangled parts. See, it was not easy. Rain showers did drop, but our hearts bled not, because she taught us the beauty of strength with her hands on our palms, eyes fixated on our own. She was our reassurance, with minds illuminated, taught us that the sun is never discriminated, taught us to spot light in darkness. Mama way, 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 mama way. I remember those days when the society smacked you on the face. Heaps of responsibilities led to depression, a null hypothesis proven. Too much negativity spread on our history, but you taught us the beauty of positivity. Because alone is how she has always walked in this narrowed path with broadened thoughts. I see her lowering her pace and fastening her laces just to give us the very best. Because alone is how she has always walked. You see, wisdom had to exist. Because at 10 questions be like, uko na baba kweli? Why do you talk about your mama so much? At 15 to 29 questions be like, uko sure na kuwa na chali? Are you sure you're going to be submissive to your husband? It's funny how these questions married with age at 25 to 29 questions be like, uko sure na kuwa wife? Because alone is how she has always walked. Mama reminded us that human words were just like the mist, that you could either put on a rain jacket and watch it demystify, or you could hibernate from it, or you could even lit that bonfire and watch it demystify, because human words were just that, words. I am an African woman, born by 2 yet raised by 1. I am that statistic that thrived from this equation. Spontaneous the poet, people.
Amazing, guys.
Thank you for
amazing.
listening. Thank you for listening.
That was amazing.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that was amazing. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Asante sana.
Thank you for sharing your story though.
You're welcome.